Hello, all. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Douglas, and my pronouns are he, him. I've been a part of this congregation for about 3 or 4 years now, and I love it. This morning, we begin our summer Sundays, and we'll take liberal religious look at America's 250th birthday with a service of lessons and carols. However you're feeling this morning, there's a place for you here, and together we'll make this morning a celebration of community, support, friendship, kindness, and inspiration. As we gather this morning, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building is on the traditional land of the Pagusset, Pequannock, Scotticoke, and Wappinger people. Before we get started this morning, I invite you to greet your neighbors either here or next to you or others joining you online and say hello. Introduce yourself. How are you? Welcome, welcome. And we will ring the chimes. We are in need of greeters for Summer Sundays. If you can help us by serving as a greeter on one or more of Summer Sundays, please contact Lisa Horton. Our minister, Reverend Tony, is away at Middlebury College Language School this summer through August 15th, where he will study Spanish in a total immersion program, living on campus, taking language classes, and participating in cultural programs. Our Director of Family Ministry, Reverend Sierra Marie, is on a well-earned sabbatical but will return at the beginning of August. Child care and programming is paused for the summer. Families with young children are always welcome in our services, but those who wish may also use the lower level. The main area and the nursery are located down the stairs, and there are monitors that can be set up to view the service. An adult must stay with the children. We also have crafts, toys, and books for all ages to enjoy here in Fellowship Hall. And the regular child care program will be resuming in the fall. Please see your order of service, our weekly email newsletter this week, and events on the calendar on our website, uudanbury.org, for a complete list of everything that is happening in our congregation. At the end of this morning's service, there will be a postlude, and we ask that everyone remains seated and listen before getting up for coffee hour. And as always, please join us for coffee and conversation after the service. Okay. We make this time and this place holy by being together with each other, and we begin by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Please join me in reciting the words to our chalice lighting. We light this chalice as a beacon of truth and freedom, like the Statue of Liberty's torch, a signal to all people that we Americans of goodwill and open hearts make room for everyone at the table, freedom and community. Unitarian Universalists have no creed or dogma. It is our covenant promises to each other about how we practice love and community that holds us together. Let us renew those promises together. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another, and to celebrate life. Our first hymn tonight is Faith of the Larger Liberty, number 287 in the Gray Hymnal, and the words should be on the screen.
sounded great. The good news is most of the songs are ones we know. Most of them. The rest of them. And now please join me in the children's affirmation. We are Unitarian, Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. Doug has our story today.
Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year.
Okay, everyone knows that one. Okay. Pack it up. Pack it up. Okay. Did you know that there was a teenager who also made a ride like Paul Revere? She rode twice as far as he did, and she helped chase the British out of Danbury, Connecticut.
Really?
Yes! Her name was Sybil Luddington, and there's a children's book about her called The Revolutionary War Rider by E.F. Abbott. Let me tell you the story. In a small farmhouse in New York near the border with Danbury CT, 16-year-old Sybil Luddington polished her lantern. She never imagined tonight would be the most important night of her life. Her father, Colonel Henry Luddington, the commander of the local Colonel militia, burst into the room and told her, "The British are coming. We must gather the militia." Sybil's eyes widened. The members of the militia her father commanded were scattered across miles and miles of countryside. How would they all know to come? "I can ride around and tell them, father," she said. She wasn't afraid of the dark woods or the muddy roads. Her father hesitated. The weather wasn't good, but Sybil was a good horse rider, and there was little time. Besides, people would trust the news coming from Sybil. She got ready and climbed onto her horse, Star. Lantern in hand, she rode off into the countryside. Rain splashed her face. Owls cried. Twigs and branches snapped as she rode over them and through them. At each farmhouse she came to, she cried out as loud as she could, "The British are coming! The British are coming! Wake up! Grab your muskets! The British are burning Danbury!" Dogs barked, windows and doors flew open, men pulled on their boots, people lit candles, children peeked out of the windows. Star galloped on into the night. Sybil's arm grew tired from holding the lantern. She thought of the people of the colonies of New York and Connecticut. She knew it was important for the colonies to be free of English rule. As tired as she was, she told herself she couldn't give up. She must keep riding. More farmhouses, more shouting, more families waking up, and more militia gathering their things and getting ready to head for Danbury. After 40 miles, twice as far as Paul Revere, Sybil made it home, soaked from the rain, cold from the wind, and exhausted. By morning, the militia were arriving in Connecticut. Colonel Luddington was impressed and proud of his daughter. Later that day, the Colonel militia defeated the British in a battle in and around Ridgefield and Danbury, Connecticut. Sybil's ride was forgotten by most people except her family for many years, but eventually her family started telling the story of her ride and made it more widely known. And today there are historical markers and monuments to Sybil Luddington and her 40-mile ride through the night of April 25th to 26th, 1777, which helped chase the British out of Danbury. Now, I invite you, if you're comfortable doing so, to close your eyes, take in and release a deep breath, and settle into yourself. Allow silence to speak to you in the comfort of this community. Maya Angelou writes, here on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country. No less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. During Sunday milestones, sharing the joys and sorrows of life moves us into the space of community from the singularity of our different individual lives. We look up and into each other's eyes and see each other's faces. I invite you to share silent stones, and for those of you who would like us to share a stone for you, just raise a hand and we'll place it for you. Each Sunday, we ask for your generosity, one of our core values, and you respond time and time again. Once again, we ask for and depend upon your generous and giving hearts. You can use the QR code in the order of service to give online, or you may also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. If this is your first time visiting, feel free to pass the plate. Your presence is your gift to us this morning. Thank you for your generosity. We will also somehow collect the food for Dorothy Day Food Pantry.
An excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind.
Humankind.
A decent respect to the opinions of humankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self evident, that all men are created equal.
All people are created equal.
Yes, that all people are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men.
People. Governments are instituted among people.
Governments are instituted among people, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Please join, and we are going to sing our national anthem. And now we're moving on to the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers,
Our fathers and mothers, our parents, our ancestors. Pick one.
our parents, brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
All people are created equal.
Yes, all people are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but we can never forget what they did here. It is for the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave their last full measure of devotion, that we might hear that we might that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Our, our, our next hymn is Lift Every Voice and Sing. Please join us.
The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beaconed hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged arbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing America the Beautiful, words in the order of service.
I wanted to quickly mention we want to say a big thank you to our Reverend Tony for putting this whole script together because it was quite a. So he's up in Vermont. We'll give him a big. Okay. This is an excerpt from the first inaugural address of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, and frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and prosper. So, first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. In every dark hour of our national life, a leadership of frankness and vigor has met with that understanding and support of the people themselves, which is essential to victory. I am convinced that you will again give that support to leadership in these critical days. I guess he was talking about us now. Huh? The money changers have fled from their high seats in the temple of our civilization. We may now restore that temple to the ancient truths. The measure of the restoration lies in the extent to which we apply social values more noble than mere monetary profit. Happiness lies not in the mere possession of money. It lies in the joy of achievement, in the thrill of creative effort. The joy and moral stimulation of work no longer must be forgotten in the mad chase of evanescent profits. These dark days will be worth all they cost us if they teach us that our true destiny is not to be ministered onto, but to minister to ourselves and to our fellows. Please join in singing This Land is Your Land.
This is an excerpt from the letter from Birmingham jail by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another person's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. We who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open where it can be seen and dealt with. In your statement, you assert that our actions, even though peaceful, must be condemned because they precipitate violence. But is this a logical assertion? Isn't this like condemning a robbed man because his possession of money precipitated the evil act of robbery? Isn't this like condemning Socrates because his unswerving commitment to truth and his philosophical inquiries precipitated the act by the misguided populace in which they made him drink hemlock? Isn't this like condemning Jesus because his unique God consciousness and never ceasing devotion to God's will precipitated the evil act of crucifixion? Society must protect the robbed and punish the robber. Please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please rise in body or spirit again and join in singing our hymn of celebration, We Shall Overcome, number 169 in the Great Hymnal. join us for coffee and snacks. Okay. As Amanda Gorman wrote, we will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Please remain seated for the postlude and then join us for coffee.
We did it. It went pretty good. It went- Well, oh, gee, thank you, really.
If everyone has a hymn, though, they would have the two.
Yeah.
But since we're just looking at the work, or we need a public.
Yeah, but it's
The notes for every song on there. Yeah, so that would go.
oh.
Because then we would have been able to. We should have a day where we teach everyone how to read.
Yeah, right. Well,
If it goes